Welcome to Gimme Empathy, a podcast about trying to reconnect with a shattered world by talking to my friends about their lives. I'm your host, Scott Mercer. I'm a musician and a community radio broadcaster in Brisbane, Australia. I've been through some pretty big life changes recently, and one of the things I started to notice about myself is that I'm understanding what appeals to other people less and less. This makes me sometimes feel like a snob and like I don't understand what's going on in the world. And this separation from different people's experiences is the kind of thing that leads to xenophobia in the literal sense of the word, just the fear of the unknown, without specifically being about race or anything in particular. Now, the cure for xenophobia is contact. So I thought the best way to cure my xenophobia of other people's lives was to start talking to some other people. And I'm starting with my friends because they are so conveniently placed within my life and I don't have to go out and meet strangers, which is really scary. I'm interested in the question, what are you into? Because I find I have no idea why people like some stuff anymore. In the advertising I see, the products that are out there, services provided, some of it just leaves me cold, and I know some of that's about getting older, but I want to stay connected to the world. I think it's important because I got to live here for quite a while yet, hopefully. I think a big part of gaining empathy is going to be understanding people's habits, how they live their lives. It's like if you remember when you were a kid going to your friend's house for a sleepover and you saw how differently their family lived to yours. So like the different things they ate, who did the chores in the household, what the rules were, all that was totally different to your house. And it was a bit scary, but also kind of interesting from an anthropological, voyeuristic point of view. And as you grow older, you don't really get that insight into other people's households that often. You can know people for a long time without knowing how they really live most of their lives. What time do they get up in the morning? What do they do when they get up? What do they eat for breakfast? Do they exercise? Do they watch TV? Do they worship the altar to the snake god? Does the snake god then provide them with the breakfast? These are all questions that I want to know the answers to. So mostly I'll be asking the questions, but there are also a number of prepared topics that I'm going to be sending my guests beforehand, and they can pick out a few that they particularly want to tell people about. My first guest is my friend Ash Shanahan. Ash was the drummer in my band Go-Go Fish for about 5 years, and then after that I played bass and guitar in her band, Hands on Heart. One of the things that's going to feature pretty heavily in this podcast is going off on lots of tangents, because I love podcasts that go off on tangents. There's something really nice that I like about people just rambling on and on about something that they're passionate about. So you'll hear a bit of that in this episode when we talk about the English singer-songwriter Laura Marling, who Ash and I are both big fans of. Ash also talks about things like her relationship with food, finding alone time as an introverted person, being a bitch at work, her morning routine and commute, NPR podcasts, goal setting, her compulsion to learn, and her career, and just a little bit about the Fallout video games towards the end. So here we go, the first episode of Gimme Empathy. I hope you enjoy it. This is Ash Shanahan. Hi Ash, how are you?
Hi Scott, I'm good. How are you?
Good. We've just done the classic thing. There's already part of a lost episode of this podcast because I realized we were not recording for 2 minutes. But I feel like that's part of the mythology of all good podcasts. Like they start off super shitty and then like the production quality and the professionalism gradually gets better.
Yes, I agree.
So Ash, how do we know each other?
Well, you put in a personal ad. You can't see me doing rubber ears. In a music magazine, and I answered that. You were looking for a drummer.
Is it a personal ad if it's, but it was like a semi-professional listing. Like I I was looking for a drummer to drum, not to like.
Look, I was trying to make you sound creepy. I'm sorry.
So, do you remember when we actually met for the first time?
I briefly remember it, and I thought that you liked cats, and that's all I really knew, that you wrote songs and liked cats.
I remember, so I was living downstairs at my dad's house at the time, and I was holding auditions because I was putting a band together and I needed a drummer. And I answered the door, and it was instantly cringy because, your name is Ash, but your full name is Ashlyn, spelled Aisling. And I opened the door and I said, Aisling? And you looked down a little forecast and said, oh, it's actually Ashlyn. I just go by Ash. And that really set the tone, I think, for our whole friendship.
Oh, look, it's a story of my life. Everybody says my name wrong, so I didn't really mind.
So your name is Gaelic?
That's right.
And is it a family name? Do you have like great-grandparents named Ashlyn?
I wish it was that interesting, but no, my parents lived in Ireland for, I think it was about 10 months. My mum taught a class. There were 4 of us, well, 4 Ashlyns, and she got used to the name.
I would have thought she'd be sick of the name Ashlyn if she was in a class with 4.
I think she got used to reprimanding people called Ashlyn.
Ah, that makes sense. It just came naturally. Maybe your name wasn't even originally Ashlyn. Maybe it was like Tammy, but then like she was just yelling at you one day and it was like, Ashlyn! Da, da, and she just kept saying Ashlyn, and then it stuck.
Well, personally, I prefer Ashlyn over Tammy any day, and I hope that my manager Tammy hears this one day.
Have you actually seen your birth certificate proving that you're Ashlyn?
Yes. Yes, I have. They haven't changed it, don't worry.
Whatever, Obama.
Hey, his name is still Obama, technically. It's just where he was born. I believe I was born in Australia. That can be taken up with my parents.
I mean, no one really knows where they were born. No one remembers.
I don't remember, but I've been told I was born in the Mater Hospital in Newcastle, so we'll go with that. I have a T-shirt somewhere to prove it.
So you came and auditioned to be the drummer in my band, but beyond the ad, what made you say, okay, I would actually want to play drums with this person?
I love how this is like the first time we've ever spoken about this. This is awkward. No, basically, I looked at your profile. I looked at the bands that you liked. They were the same bands that I liked, same sort of quirky alternative music that I enjoyed. So I figured, why not?
What bands were those?
I think you listed Something for Kate and The Greats. And I think you may have mentioned Sarah Blasco. I'm not too sure.
I probably did. Yeah. That was kind of before I sort of realized the difference between bands that you like and bands that influence you, and you can make good music that sounds like them.
That's right, yeah.
Because I don't think I really ever made good music that sounded like any of those bands.
Oh, no, I think The Greats, possibly, at the
Maybe.
beginning. And then it kind of diverged into something more heavier, rockier style once we got more members.
Yeah. So beyond having musical influences in common, what made you stick around to play in my band despite us not having many people coming to see us or even recording much for a long time?
Well, yes, the recording thing was a bit of a disappointment for me, only because I thought that we should probably record a bit more. But then again, that also had something to do with how many songs we had and how many songs we were writing at the time. And we can only record so many songs because it cost a lot of money to do it and also to get it mastered and released. I don't know. I just really enjoyed playing with you, and the songs I thought were good quality songs. And everybody I spoke to said we deserved better. We deserved more
nice.
crowds. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's just we developed a friendship, and I also just really enjoy playing drums. Still do. I just don't really have the time for it.
Well, so we were in a band for like 5 or 6 years called Go-Go Fish, and then that ended, and then you started a new project called Hands on Heart, and the tables were turned because like Go-Go Fish was like my band and Hands on Heart was your band, and so and I played guitar and bass for you in that. So you like playing drums. What are you doing musically now, or if anything?
Really nothing. I recently tuned my guitar to open G to learn how to play some Laura Marling songs, and now I've just left it in the open G tuning. And I did tell myself I was going to try to write at least 3 new songs this year, depending on whether or not my studies allow it, and also my full-time work. So it's a bit of a juggling act. I still haven't really worked out any lyrics, but it'll happen soon enough.
Okay, so there's a million things I want to talk about. There's a million pathways there. First of all, let's talk about Laura Marling for a bit and how great she is.
Okay.
Well, when did you first encounter Laura Marling's music?
Actually, I think it was probably you.
Nice.
See the poster behind me? I'm pointing at a poster of Laura Marling's debut album that she made.
And she did the artwork for that as well.
Yes, that's right. And that was stuck up on your wall, and I remember talking to you about it. And I think you lent me her first couple of albums, and it went from there. Although my first real album that I got into was probably, was it A Creature I Don't Know? The third one?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think that one was the first one where I really experienced the music a bit more. Yeah.
That really pleases me to hear that, because often people talk about bands and I get really into them, but I don't often hear about me telling people about bands I like and those people really getting into that band.
Oh, don't worry. That's how I got most of my favorite bands. I got the B-52s from my dad because my dad had a tape of their self-titled album, and we used to listen to it in the car. We also listened to Cyndi Lauper and the Beatles, and I think there was also Roy Orbison somewhere in there.
And they're still all artists you really
I love them. Yeah, it's just being made to listen to them over and over again. It was like Stockholm Syndrome, but for music. No, not really. So the B-52s came from my dad. Let's see. I got into Limp Bizkit from a friend in high school. Really liked them. I know. It's a... how would you term it? Some sort of...
shit. The worst.
They're not the worst. Korn was worse. I don't know. That was a treat. I enjoy that band. I like putting on break stuff. I think that's what the song's called. And you just get angry. What else? I got into Catatonia from a friend of the family who was living with us when I was in high school. And and I got into Laura Marling through you, and there are a lot of other bands that I like. I got into Queen from my friend Dion, etc.
So you say you've tuned a guitar to open G to learn some Laura Marling songs.
Yes.
How do you? I always wondered this because I used to try and learn a lot of songs by ear. I didn't really have. It's not really a hobby I really do much anymore, but it is very good for developing your ear. How do you learn to play a song when you don't even know? It's a different tuning. Did you know what tuning she used and then went from there? Or do you have to figure out how she's got her guitar tuned?
Well, I'd like to claim that I'm really, really intelligent and did it all by ear, but there's this wonderful thing called the internet. You Google tabs, they will tell you how to play. And they also told me the tuning, so I'd never used it before, the Open G, so had to figure that out, which also, the internet is such a wonderful thing. They've also got, online guitar tuning websites that you can listen to, and I could probably do it now by ear, possibly go between the standard and the G. But yeah, and once I sort of listened to the song and looked at the tabs, I probably could have figured it out myself if I knew what the Open G was set up as.
Yeah. So you were looking off tabs at first? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
UltimateGuitar.com.
Oh, yeah. I used to go there all the time. Mm-hmm. They used to have, years and years ago, articles on the front page, and one of them was this kind of a short story, like a serial in short story form about a crusty old rock dude. I think it was say in Canada. He was in a band with these young dudes, and it was about them trying to make it and going on tour and sexing the chicks and stuff. And it was really, it was a bizarre thing in retrospect. This kind of serialized fiction on a site for guitar tabs. I think the band in it was called Clutch or something.
Clutch. Okay.
Yeah. But it was one of those things where it seemed like it was very much the author venting his own frustrations and regrets in fiction form.
Possibly. All I can think about when you talk about that is Scott Weiland and how in his last couple of years of his life he started up another band because he used to be lead singer of Stone Temple Pilots, and how he started up a new band with like 3 younger guys. They never really got anywhere. And I also think that being around these young guys sort of got him back into his drug habit, which was how he died. But I hope the author of that serialized fiction found some sort of purpose or a way out of, or stardom. I don't know. The Clutch may have turned into somebody else, like Nickelback. I don't know.
Laura Marling had a new album that's been out recently, and she's touring in June.
That's right.
I think. What are your thoughts about this new album?
It's quite a departure to a lot of her earlier stuff. It's a lot less folk-oriented, I think. A lot more band-focused, a lot more guitars. And soothing is just completely different to anything else that she's done, really, which I really enjoy. I love the fact that it's got 2 bass parts just sort of playing off the top of one another. And I'm guessing it's a computerized drum beat underneath it.
I'm not sure.
It sounds like it's a repeated loop. So I would imagine so. She uses it in a couple of her songs this time around.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'd be interested how she does that song live. Like if she's playing one of the basses, or if she's just I can't imagine Laura Marling not having a guitar and just singing.
Well, see, that's the interesting thing. I've been looking at live videos of the new songs, and I cannot find a live version of Soothing. I don't know if she hasn't actually played it or if nobody's just bothered to put up a recording of it on YouTube. But there are a couple of other songs where she doesn't really play much guitar off the album. I think it's called Don't Pass Me By, Don't Let Me Down, something like that.
Don't Pass Me By,
There you go. I've seen a live performance of that. She barely plays any guitar in that. And the next one on the album as well, she barely plays any guitar in the live performance. Her actual touring guitarist does it. So.
But she still has a guitar strapped on.
She does, yeah. It's just a very minimalized part. When you look at her earlier work, especially when she was like with Marcus Mumford, and it was just, in some performances, just the 2 of them, she was playing all the guitar part.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was just all her. So.
And then there's still tracks like the title. Is this song actually called Semper Femina? The one where she says Semper Femina?
No, it's called Noelle.
Noelle, yeah, that one.
Yes.
Like that's just her on guitar.
That's just her on guitar. When she plays that, it's usually just herself.
Yeah.
And it's really great. I love the way that she plays that song.
So it's interesting. You're talking about Soothing being really different to her other stuff, and it kind of was, but in the same way, I think all throughout her career, she's really been following a Joni Mitchell sort of trajectory, and that goes from when she started when she was 16, like she was tarred with that, oh, you sound like Joni Mitchell. But like I think there are superficial comparisons to be made to Joni Mitchell in how she sounds, but also deeper ones in what she's done with her career, and like the slow evolution, and then a few sharper left and right turns. And like Soothing sounds like it's starting to get into mid-70s jazz Joni Mitchell type thing. So while it's different to her, it's still true to her shadowing of Joni Mitchell's career, I think.
Well, yeah, if you look at all of her albums, she did sort of start in the new folk tradition from, was it Noah and the Whale and stuff like that. And then it sort of, I don't know, it became like a looser guitar style, different elements, more sort of US folk rock. And
when she moved to California, I think there was a definite change in her sound.
Yeah, that's right. So I guess, if anything, she still has to be commended for the fact that she's still learning as a musician.
Yeah.
Yeah. And embracing different sort of styles, different genres, but still, the songs still sound quintessentially Laura Marling. So she's finding like a middle ground between new genres and old musical influence, and yeah. It's
really delightful watching an artist grow like that, because I guess when you start listening to music in earnest, late teens, early 20s or something, there's like so much to get through, so much old stuff, so much of the canon of music of whatever genre you're into, and then there's a few like new things you start listening to because you just love it, and like it's such a joy to stick with some artists and watch them grow. And Laura Marling's been one of those people for me. Like I think I first heard Ghosts, which is like one of her very early singles, when it was the iTunes free single of the week. This must have been in like 2008 or so, when she was 15 or 16 years old. And it's just great that an artist like her is so prolific. This is what, album number 6
That's right.
for her.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not always on board the changes that she makes. Like, I think I really didn't like Once I Was an Eagle as an album. It was just so long and
Oh, yes, it was.
just a bit of a slog. But then Short Movie, the one she made after that, is probably my favorite of her albums. So I just love artists that you can follow like that. Are there any other perhaps younger musicians whose work that you follow that you really appreciate?
Younger musicians. None really come to mind at the moment. You know, I'm sort of stuck 5 years behind everybody else. So, yeah, I would say no. I can't really think of any at the moment. Like, I do follow musicians like Holly Throsby and Garbage. I mean, most people think Garbage are dead. They're not. They're just old. It's okay. I can admit that now.
I think there are, you know how people say that everyone dies twice, once when their physical body leaves this earth, and second when their name is said last.
Yeah.
I think Garbage will die 3 times. Once when all the members die, twice when they're said last, and third when they exit your heart last, because you will be the last.
I will be the last.
Die-hard Garbage fan. I think you'll survive the apocalypse only to ensure that Garbage lives on.
Oh, I'm glad that you think I'll survive the apocalypse. So I'll be around next year then. That's good.
Yeah. Let's talk about one of the prepared topics that you have. What's one of the things you want to
I
talk
have
about
prepared
today?
topics. Okay, well, the first thing, if you want to talk about my habits, that's the point of this, isn't it?
Yes.
Talk about people's habits. Okay, well, I guess the worst part of my life in terms of habits would be my eating habits.
Interesting.
Yes.
Okay, so what is your relationship with food?
Oh, it changes every week. At the moment, it's positive. I enjoy food. I can't stop eating sometimes, like last night where I got home and had a small bowl of cream, and then I finished off the mango slices sitting in the fridge.
Cream is the best. I've just discovered cream.
Oh, yeah.
I love it.
I know. Well, see, a couple of months ago, I thought it was lactose intolerant. And so to determine this, I cut it out. Like, I cut all dairy out of my diet for about 4 to 5 months. And then I realized it wasn't that. It was most likely sugar that was affecting me.
Right. So what made you think you were lactose intolerant?
I would prefer not to say that on a podcast, Scott.
Oh, that's okay then.
Let's just say it rhymes with ass.
Right.
Okay. And
Grass. You had grass growing out of you.
I had grass problems.
You
yes.
are Groot.
That I am Groot, according to my computer at work. Thank you, my workmates.
Wait, what?
Oh, I went shopping at Woolworths a couple of days ago. I earned over a certain amount of points, and the lady gave me a Marvel. It's like their version of, is it Pogs? I think it's Pogs.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's well, mine is a Groot one. I didn't want to open it, and my workmate opened it, and then 2 of them decided to stick it to my computer.
So now you are Groot.
I am now Groot. Yes, it's great. So I had some cream. Then I finished off the mango slices that I'd used in a stir fry a couple of nights previously. And then I decided to eat, some leftover corn from a Porto's that we had. And then I thought at 8 o'clock I should probably be a good wife and cook dinner because my husband was coming home at 9:30. So then I did the naughty thing, which was cook a very basic Massaman potato curry, which was, I basically get a curry paste and a whole heap of coconut milk, and I cut up all this potato and layer it in a dish, and then just mix the curry paste, the coconut milk in a bowl, pour it over the top, stick it in the oven.
So this sounds like a very kind of slapdash way of filling your belly on a given night.
Oh, yes. That's how I do my meals.
So you don't have you're not like, okay, I'm going to cook this, you cook it, and then you eat it. You
I don't do
munching
planning.
on things and
I hate planning so much.
You're big on snacks?
Do I do snacks?
Mm.
Well, cream has sort of become like my little go-to snack. Although I kind of had to eat the cream because it's starting to go off. So I finished that off. I have no more cream. It's
How
very
long
sad.
does cream last? Because I have some in the fridge.
Well, it should say on the packet.
Oh, I should look at that.
That's why they put these use-by dates in there.
I've had it about a week and a half.
Once you open it, it's probably around 2 weeks.
Okay, so I'll have to eat it quickly and then buy more.
Oh, what a pity. Aldi's just in there. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't plan my meals. I don't go out shopping with exact lists. I do have lists because if I don't, I buy random stuff, which for me, trying to save a bit of money is probably not the best idea. Also, don't go shopping with Rory, my husband. Don't go shopping with him.
Well, I was going to ask that. Is it more difficult when you're living with your partner to kind of keep on a diet regimen? Because they're going to have their food in the house, and then you're like, oh, I'll have some of Rory's food and nom nom nom.
Well, no, not really, unless he decides to buy a packet of Tim Tams or, for example, last week, I like dark chocolate, but I like the Lindt 90% dark chocolate.
That's hardcore.
I know. It's just when you can't taste anything except almost cacao in your mouth. And I used to eat cacao too, but it got a bit too much. So 90% is like the most I can do. So I eat 90%. He went to the petrol station one night, filled up, came home with, I think it was 4 bars of 70% dark chocolate because it was half price.
Oh.
Yeah. And my mum had also, this is just before Easter, my mum gave me a 70% dark chocolate egg. So I'm like...
Was it like a solid egg or just like a shell egg?
Oh, it's still a shell egg.
Okay.
But compared to other eggs, it was quite thick.
Mm.
So here I am surrounded with 70% dark chocolate everywhere I look. It's very hard. I started eating chocolate again. I've been trying really... It's a struggle, Scott. It's just a struggle.
So this really interests me because I have a very different relationship to eating and food. I'm a lot more regimented. Like, I only buy stuff I'm going to eat. Like in the next week, I might have a couple snacks. I have a bunch of snacks still actually left over from my birthday party from the other week. You feel free to take some if you want.
Oh, I will.
There's a lot that's still unopened, like chips and stuff. But so this really interests me because it's a totally different approach to eating and cooking that I have. So is there a problem, do you think, with this approach? Is it causing you any grief in your life?
No, not really. Basically, I focus on getting fresh fruit and veggies in my diet all the time. That's basically what I eat. After being vegetarian for a number of years, I've slowly introduced meat back into my diet, and I've now started to become more accepting of whole fats as well. So trying not to have light milk or light cream because that's a lot more sugar. They're replacing fat with sugar, and your body can deal with fat better from what I can read and from what I can tell as well. I mean, after cutting out dairy and realizing sugar was the problem.
Yeah.
So now I'm trying my best to minimize my sugar intake, eating only fruits and veggies and occasionally protein. So I'll have some tuna with my salad at lunchtime, or every once in a while, I have pork belly and veggies with my workmates. So that's basically what my diet is now. And I don't plan my meals in advance, but Rory and I do try to go to the markets and get enough fruit and veg for the week that we think that we can make enough meals out of. And then, on a given night, I open up the fridge, I look at what we've got still, and I say, okay, we're going to have roast veggies, or I'm going to make a veggie curry, like what I did last night. Something quick, easy, or something that I can throw in the oven and walk away and do my typing or do my study and come back and eat it. So that's what I eat now.
Are there any meals like with breakfast and lunch? Are they more routine? Like, do you have a thing that you normally eat every day?
I do. I now have a banana smoothie every morning, and if I can remember to get some, I also have a kiwi fruit as well with it. It just sort of helps perk me up, and then when I get to work at around 9 or 10, I get a little bit hungry, so I have a snack, so usually some cheese or possibly like a little health bar that I picked up at the shops. Yeah.
So are you more about small meals regularly than large meals infrequently?
I would say I am now, yes. I used to sort of try and go for the larger meals, but my body just wasn't really handling it well. I would shut down after lunch if I had a big meal. I would start falling asleep at my computer. So, and also consuming a lot of carbs was not good either. So I've cut out a lot of carbs now, and replacing that with fruit, veg, meat, I feel a lot healthier, a lot more energetic. And also combining that with my exercise regime now. Yeah, it's working out that I just feel a lot more I don't want to say youthful, but I feel a lot more, energetic, really. Yeah.
That's a thing I'm kind of struggling with carbs and sleepiness and stuff. I always feel so sleepy after lunch. Like I always have a cup of tea after, but because for lunch I have like a sandwich and tuna and an apple, and I think more than anything it's the apple actually that kind of that makes me sleepy, because
Really?
there's a lot of sugar and man, fucking sugar. It's in all this fruit as well.
But it's good sugar.
Healthy in other ways.
It's not processed. It's
Yeah.
better for you than getting it out of, say, bread or pasta.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. But yeah, and I just love carbs. I love all the things that carbs come in, like bread and pasta and rice. But I have cut them down a fair bit. Mostly for dinner now, I'm just eating quinoa as my staple,
Yeah, that's
which
good.
is a lot better and has a bunch of more protein and stuff. So you mentioned cooking. So does Rory cook at all?
Occasionally he does, yeah. But usually nowadays, if he does cook, it's when he's at home with me, because he usually works nights. He's a bar attendant. So I cook the meals if I feel up to it, or he picks up something on the way home. And then on the weekends, we usually have lunch together. So he cooks eggs, and I would do like a quick fry up of eggplant, zucchini, etc. to go with it.
Lunch together is a really interesting idea, because I'd say with most couples, that's probably the meal they're least likely to be in the same place when they when they're eating it. Like they'll either be at work or you'll be out somewhere. Like with my ex-girlfriend, like I can't. You could probably count on one hand the number of times we ate lunch together, and that was just because we were coincidentally both home and hungry at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think lunch now has become one of my favorite meals, because at work I'm actually able to have lunch with my workmates. It fosters more friendship, I believe. And I don't really get that with my family, as you pointed out. If we work full time and if family members work full time, we don't really see each other for those meals because we're in two totally different places. And it also happens with friends that I don't work with as well. If I can have lunch with a friend, I feel that's a much more important meal than having dinner with them, because I can always have dinner with a friend.
That really interests me as well, because like me, you're quite an introverted person, and like you need a fair bit of alone time, and like but it interests me that you seem to always or usually have pretty close relationships with the people you work with. Like you say, you really like enjoying having lunch with people. Even if I were working somewhere where I had something in common with the people I worked with, I don't think I would like to have lunch with people. Like I need to be alone for some time during the day. Like, so when do you find your time to be alone?
Well, basically I have it at night times when Rory is working. So I watch my cartoons when I come home. I'm a big fan of Regular Show and Adventure Time, and it just helps me relax. It makes no sense, and that's what I want out of a show. And usually during that time I make myself dinner as well, or I start cooking dinner for Rory and I, depending on when he's finishing. If he's finishing later than 10 o'clock, I'm not cooking him dinner. I'm just not. If it's anything earlier than that, yeah, he'll get some food. Because I want to eat too. I am not waiting around. I also do my typing on the side then. I also do my study, and it allows me time to just be by myself. But I also get to do whatever I want. So I'll study for 30 minutes. I'll jump on my drum kit for 20 minutes. I'll go watch TV for a little bit, and then I go back upstairs and do my typing, etc. And just going back to the work thing, I enjoy having meals with my workmates. But when I'm working, I sometimes don't talk to them for like 2 hours.
Yeah.
I'm sitting next to them. I literally look up. There they are. I won't say a word. It's great. Because I don't know. Again, this is a really bad habit. When I go into work, I don't say hi. I just sit down at my desk. Everybody comes in, they're like, hi or morning. And I just come in, go straight to my desk, put my stuff down, go to the fridge, put my food away, come back, just start. I don't say hello unless they're right there next to me. It makes me look like I'm a bitch. I understand that.
Ash, you're my fucking hero. Like how? But so yeah, how do people? Do you feel like there's people judge you for not saying hello in the morning?
They probably did at first. I have explained to them that I don't say hello. It's just not me. I've also explained to my workmates, I'm not a really, I am kind of a morning person. I don't need coffee to wake up. It's just, sometimes I just want to sit down and just be by myself and allow myself the time to gather my thoughts, and especially in the morning. So let's see, my friend Reagan, she always comes in. She's like, morning, morning, morning. Sits down. I don't say morning unless she directs it directly at me. And then she looks at me and goes, oh, so chatty this morning.
But is she like the person who says that every day?
Not every day. Usually when I'm just looking directly at my computer screen, that's when she makes a point of it. And I turn around and I'll say, don't worry, I'll talk to you in an hour. Just give me a moment. I will talk to you soon. And then usually later on that day, I start talking. I talk a lot. I become snarky. I become like a total bitch. And I say these horrible things in jest. And Reagan's like, why are you being so mean to me? And I said, well, you wanted me to fucking talk. But yeah, like a couple of days ago, my friend Alicia, who sits on the other side, I said hello to her. I briefly talked to her. And then I just got into it. Didn't say anything for about an hour and a half. I looked at my emails and I had an email from her 20 minutes earlier saying, are you okay?
Oh.
You haven't said anything. And I replied, I'm like, I'm good. Just tired. Give me time. and then I was fine like 30 minutes later. I don't know. It's just the way that I am. I've never been like morning person in that aspect. I also don't say goodbye. I usually say, I'll see you tomorrow to whoever's around near me. You know, they'll find out that I'm not there when I'm not there. It's all good.
That's fair enough. And like, are you how big is your workplace? How many people?
There's about 30 people in my team. There's about another 10 people on top in my, well, what would you call it? An area. The government is very segmented, but they don't often have names for the segments. So I would say area, workers' compensation, insurer services, engagement services, and medical assessment tribunals.
Well, I mean, that's fair enough. That's way too many people to say goodbye to at the end of the day.
I know, but I should probably say hello and goodbye to my management. But I don't. They know who I am. They know what I'm like.
So before you get to work, what are your mornings like? What do you do in the morning?
I wake up at 5 o'clock or 5:30, depending on whether I wake up with the first alarm or the third alarm. Make my smoothie. With daylight savings, I used to watch News Breakfast on ABC 24, which is not actually called that anymore, but it's like ABC News. But because daylight savings finished, now I have to watch, I think it's the BBC International News for half an hour. Kill me. And then I have to watch Lateline if I want to for half an hour. And then at 6 o'clock, then News Breakfast comes on. So I found out that I think Channel 10 plays Next Generation, like Star Trek.
Oh, yep.
So I might watch that now instead.
So you watch TV in the mornings. This is immediately interesting.
Yeah.
And so news is like the first thing you're getting.
Yeah.
Is that a lot of negativity to be receiving in the morning?
Well, I don't think so. I think with News Breakfast, at least I'm getting something that's not completely biased. I shouldn't say that out loud. I'm sure Channel 7 and Channel 9 do their best. They really do. But Koshi is such an ugly bastard. No, he's not an ugly bastard. He's just...
As far as like the talking heads go, I don't think Koshi's the ugliest bastard. Who's that guy with this? Richard Wilkins. He's a square-headed freak.
Yes, if you're going off looks alone, yeah. If you're going off personality, he's even worse.
Okay.
No, I like News Breakfast. I, for some reason, really enjoy Michael Rowland. He's such a geeky guy, but he's adorable. Yeah, you don't even know who that is, do you?
No,
That's okay.
Do you see a TV?
No, I thought sometime you might have picked one up just to put it in a corner and not turn it on.
Maybe I should get an old cathode ray, like an old school 1950s one.
Yeah.
And then
Do it.
take out the screen and put like a dinosaur diorama inside it or something like that.
Yeah, you could do the Adventure Time thing where I think it was Ice King before he was Ice King. He met Marceline, the vampire queen,
Mm-hmm.
but she was a little girl, so he was protecting her after the Armageddon. And they found a television and she was sick, so he was trying to make her feel better. So he was using like these little puppet creatures
Yes.
and recreating Cheers.
Cheers.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know Adventure Time takes place in the real future.
Well, yeah. It's supposed to be after a nuclear holocaust. They sort of realized that after a while. That they wanted to put a backstory into it. So, yeah, nuclear wars happened and mutant creatures have been created.
Right. So
Yeah.
if the guy remembered Cheers, it must be pretty soonish.
Yeah, I guess so.
So you watch TV in the morning, have your smoothie and fruits and things. How do you commute to work?
I catch a bus.
How long does that take?
Depends on the bus. I take the express usually. It takes about 20 minutes. If I catch a 174, it goes up Logan Road, so it can take half an hour, 40 minutes, depending on traffic. It's interesting. Even if I get ready earlier than normal and I get to the bus stop earlier than normal, I always seem to catch the same bus. I just don't make it for the first bus. I think I'm going to make it this time. And I'm walking up the hill and then I see the bus go past. Damn it. So then I have to wait another 5-10 minutes at the bus stop.
Do you like catching the bus?
Yeah, it's pretty good. I like public transport.
What do you do on the bus?
Listen to my iPod or listen to a podcast and read a book.
So you can read in a moving vehicle. You don't get motion sickness?
I used to as I was a kid. But over the years, I've sort of taught myself not to read and look out of the window and then read more and then look out of the window. That was the problem.
So you still would get sick if you were constantly reading?
No. I used to get sick because I'd read a bit,
Oh,
then look
because
out
you
the
were
window,
looking out the window. Oh,
and then go
okay.
back to trying to focus and then look out the window. And then I would feel like I was going to vomit. So if I just focus on my book, I should be okay.
Ah, okay. You said iPod. Do you literally still have an iPod or is it on your...
Yes, it's a classic.
Okay, I have a million questions about that alone. So why do you still use an iPod and not a phone?
I use a phone occasionally. Well, the phone uses data. I cannot be bothered getting a SD card that's big enough to hold songs. And I like the fact that the iPod is still an iPod. It makes me feel like a dinosaur, but like a cool dinosaur. I don't know what that would be, like a stegosaurus. Are they cool?
They're pretty cool.
There we go. Then I also have like what's the name of the tail? A thagomizer?
Tail thagum. Ankylosaurus with the club on its tail.
Well, I guess so. Well, it was something to do with who did Clouds of Our Planet in The Far Side? Gary Larson?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. I was reading that he actually named, well, he didn't name it, but he came up with a name for the end tail with the spikes on it.
Oh, the thing
he
on
called
the
it a
stegosaurus.
thagomizer.
Oh, that's a good
And
name.
then the paleontologists took that on as the official name.
That's so awesome.
So, yeah. So I'd like to be the creature which has the thagomizer.
So you said you listen to music or podcasts. What decides a music day and what decides a podcast day?
It depends on whether or not I left my iPod at home and also whether or not there's a new episode of the podcast that I really like.
How many podcasts do you listen to?
At the moment, it's really only restricted to NPR, which is so American of me. In case anybody doesn't know, NPR, I think, is National Public Radio. Is that right?
It's like the ABC kind of in terms of their content and approach and intellectualness, I guess.
Yeah. So it's probably more left-wing than anything, which is probably why Republicans don't really listen to it. No, I first heard of NPR with All Songs Considered and Tiny Desk Concert. I like Tiny Desk concerts. Have you seen those?
No.
Oh, you should look them up. They basically get musicians to come into the NPR studio. I think it's in Seattle, that one, or New York, one of the two. And they play inside the office. So they've got very small space, and so they're playing cutback songs, really.
And which NPR podcasts are you listening to at the moment?
Well, I listen to Hidden Brain, which is a psychology one. And I listen to Alt Latina, which is a Latino music one, which is great because it doesn't just focus on Latino music in the States. It looks at Caribbean music, Central American, South American as well. And they have certain months where they look at certain genres within it. So rap or like Cuban music. They had a whole month for Cuban music when Obama lifted the embargoes, etc. They also have a Black Latino music month as well. So they look at the different genres, but by Black Latino musicians. Yeah.
You seem to have a really eclectic taste in music, I've noticed. Like you glom onto seemingly random genres for a while and you'd be like, have you heard this Afrobeat thing? Or like, I love this indie rock band. So is this a main way you find new music, through podcasts?
Not necessarily through podcasts, sometimes through emails that I get, through various indie labels that I've signed up to, or record stores. There's a record store in Melbourne that does a lot of Afrobeat, soul, funk music. I think that's where I first heard of Sharon Jones through a friend of ours, but then I picked up a couple of albums from that place. I think it's called Northside Records in Fitzroy, and I signed up to their mailing list, and I hear about musicians through that, YouTube channels and NPR podcasts, etc. Although, just going back to the podcast, my favorite one is called Planet Money.
Is that about finances and stuff?
It's about economics, but it looks about economics in various different places. So yesterday I listened to one about cattle rustling and the cost that it causes to farmers, because it's a serious problem in Oklahoma. It costs them like $2,000 a head. If you lose 6 out of your 8 cows, that's a lot of money. And also most of your herd gone. And the way that they do sales down in Oklahoma, apparently they don't have any paperwork. It's all done on a handshake. So it's really hard to trace the cows and whether or not you actually have ownership when you sell it to the stockyard.
Haven't we been like branding cattle for hundreds of years so you know whose they are?
Yeah, but I think for a lot of these small-time farm operations, they probably don't brand their cattle. They probably don't even think about it. And as the reporters found out, it's really easy to steal cows if you know how to do it. You'll whistle at them. And then you get them over, and then you lure them into the back of a truck with a bucket of grass. They're really dumb creatures.
I'm just taking notes right now. I really want a cow.
Yeah. Although, according to Bob's Burgers, don't put a cow up a flight of stairs because they can't go back down.
Oh, yes, I have heard that.
Yes.
Would you like some water?
Yes, that would be nice.
Okay, we've had a water break. Did you want to talk about another one of your prepared topics, Ash?
Prepared topics. Let's see. You want to talk about weird habits? Okay, I'm, for some reason, sort of obsessed with learning stuff.
Can you be more specific?
I continuously feel like I need to be studying a degree. So I started off studying communications degree out of high school. Big fucking mistake that was. But I enjoyed certain parts like the sociology side of it. Then halfway through, I decided to stop that. I thought I would switch to a Bachelor of Arts majoring in Australian Studies. I thought that would be kind of cool. Did a couple of subjects in that. Stopped that again. Then I went back to finish off the communications degree. Finished that. A year out of that, I decided to study a graduate diploma of editing and publishing. Did 4 subjects, decided to quit with a grad cert. A year after that, decided to do a Masters of Health Information Management. Did 4 subjects of that, decided to quit, got a grad cert. Then I spent 2 years of doing nothing, and everybody was very happy for me, Scott. Everybody, because they're like, stop it, you're getting too much debt and you're doing nothing with these degrees. But I was interested, and what better way to learn about this stuff without doing the degree? I guess I could have probably done volunteer work or self-directed study, but I thought the degree would be helpful if I ever wanted to do like a job related to it. And then recently this year, after having 2 or 3 years of no study, I've decided to go do a law degree. There you go.
Why? Why do you like studying so much? Uni is hellish for most people. You have deadlines, you have assignments, you have bureaucracy, it costs money. Why?
Yeah, okay. So the money thing I can understand. It's going to cost a hell of a lot to do this degree, but I'm planning on paying off extra of my HECS debt. The more I earn, hopefully I'm going to get a promotion this year sometime, so I'll start voluntarily paying that back on top of my mandatory. So the money isn't too much of a problem. Deadlines, I love deadlines because they make me work harder. And they give me something to look forward to. I don't know why. I don't like planning, but I love deadlines. Weird, huh? I like a challenge. There you go. I enjoy having challenges, having problems to solve.
All I'm hearing is that you're an academic masochist. Like I can't see how I would ever go back to studying. I just hate deadlines so much, and because I set myself enough deadlines as it is in my own life that that I feel so shitty about when I miss them for various projects. Like when we were in the band, like, got to get a single out by this point. We got to do a video. We got to do a tour. We got to do an EP, and like. I have an ability to set deadlines for myself and or like to set goals, I think, that slowly calcify into a thing I have to do, even though there is really no external force or nobody even expecting me to finish it. Do you get that?
I do. Yeah. I try to sort of set goals though, like as I'm starting to do something. So basically, one of my goals was record an album. So I went and recorded an album. I over that space of time figured out exactly what was involved in recording an album, and that was kind of mainly the only reason why I did that. And then everybody was like, "You need to play some live shows. You should promote your album. You should do this and that." And I figured, well, I spent money on it. I should probably do this too. So I guess, yeah, I set the goal, but then what I was actually aiming for came together over time. I didn't just set out with a particular plan in mind. I just said, this is what I want to do. And this is me doing it. That's another bad habit of mine is I think of doing something and then I have to do it. I can't not do it. It's very strange. So that's partly the reason why I was like, I want to do a law degree. And then in 3 weeks, I'm like, well, I have to make a decision about this or else I'm just going to keep making, I don't know, excuses, or I'm just going to come up with more options and stall.
I guess a law degree to me sounds like a bigger thing. Like that's beyond the scope of what I would think I have to do. Like I would think I have to, start a new music project, or I have to update my radio's social media, or I have to start a podcast. I don't think I would ever think about anything that grand without an external factor on me.
Oh, well, ever since I got a job in the government, that has sort of given me more of a career path. I can see progression now. I see options and progression. I wouldn't mind ending up getting into higher levels of policy making. I really enjoy reading legislation sometimes. It's a really weird thing to say. I see the fear in your eyes right now. I would also not mind ending up working in Crown law or prosecutions for a department, etc. Preferably a department where I could get behind the ideals of it. Like, for example, where I am now in the Office of Industrial Relations, there's a prosecutions team that helps with infringements of workplace health and safety. I think that would be a worthwhile job to get into. And so I think a law degree would definitely help me in that aspect.
It seems like the academic stuff you do is very much centered around your career goals and things you want to do with your work,
Yes.
which I think may be a bit different to what the sort of things my goals are at. Like I would say I work so I'm able to pursue the other things.
Yes.
And try and get that balance right. Whereas your goals are like so you can advance in your career.
Well, yes, and you are correct, because when I did the editing degree, I was working as an editor. When I did the clinical classification, the health information side of things, I was wanting to move into that particular area. I find a job that I'm interested in. I see the qualifications that I need to get and the skills that I need to get. If I've already got the skills but I need a qualification, like the health information one, I'm just going to go out and get that qualification. In hindsight, though, to get into the entry-level job that I was hoping to get into, I probably didn't need to go to university to do that. There was an association that did the bare minimum stuff that I would need to know to get into that position. And it probably would have been cheaper. But at the same time, I would have had to pay full fee out of my own pocket. I would not have been able to put that on my HECS. So there was also a financial component to it. It was put it aside, pay it off later when I get a full-time job, or see if I can get the money now and do this course over here.
So what is your relationship with your career? Like what do you need to get out of it?
Good question. This is why I went to a career psychologist, which sort of helped hone what I'm interested in and what I'm good at. Basically, there's not really a particular job that I want, but I want to help solve problems. I want to develop frameworks and use frameworks to solve problems. So I'll give you an example.
Like you're interested in systems and procedures and establishing and maintaining things so they solve problems.
Well, yes. So give me a problem to solve, I'll be freaking happy. If you give me a job to do where there's no previous example, you have to sort of come up with the procedure and you have to come up with the best way to implement something, I'll do it. I'm always the first person to put my hand up for a job like that. When I was working at a medico-legal firm, I was kind of a prototype for a position. So I kind of helped the manager develop the role, develop the policies, develop the procedures, and any problems that came up, we solved them together, and that was a lot of fun. I didn't get paid much because it was a prototype job, and it was private sector as well, but I was having a good time. Later on, when the department saw how beneficial the position was and how it was benefiting not only the organization, but just the staff within it, like they felt the procedures overall, not just within the editing department, but within the entire organization, were a lot more streamlined using this particular method. They added more people into the team and it became standard. And then, I don't know, the joy of the challenge just disappeared. And that's when I started looking elsewhere for a job. It sounds sad, but yeah, after a while, if the challenge isn't there, I look elsewhere.
You're like a kid with Lego.
I was a kid with Lego.
Because,
good call.
So, because kids with Lego, mostly, you don't like Lego because you like playing with toys and going vroom vroom and like moving action figures around a room and having them fight each other and stuff. You like Lego for the building.
Yes.
And so you said you were a Lego kid. So do you think it's the same thing, that the joys in the building and working out how to build something rather than having it actually finished?
Yes, I would say so. I also enjoyed coming up with like an idea. So when I was a little kid and Lego made normal looking Lego kits, not like this Ninjago stuff that they now have computer games and TV shows all about.
There's not a lot more narrative that comes pre-packaged.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
With it.
Ninjas do not have special powers like wands and machines that they fly in. I'm sorry.
They're not ninjas, they're Ninjagos.
Oh, my bad. So when I was younger, they had things like pirate sets and space exploration, underwater exploration. So I would get the space exploration kits. I would first build what was in the box, and then I'd take it apart, and then I'd make my own spaceships. But I'd always make sure that I knew what I was going to make, and then I'd make it. And so I'd create a new spaceship, and then I'd take it apart, and then I'd make a different spaceship. I'd come up with all these different designs for spaceships. That probably also explains the Star Trek stuff.
I still have my favorite ever Lego design. It's up on top of my CD shelves. You can't see it from where you're sitting, but it's the Shark Fighter. It's a little snub-nosed starfighter that I've kept intact. Did you ever play Minecraft?
No. Oh, sorry. I played it once. I think it was last year, and that was because we were waiting for somebody else to turn up for our board games evening. And it was a lot of fun because my friend Alex, who likes making modifications for games and selling them and making a bit of money on the side as a computer programmer, he was telling me, this is how you make a pickaxe. This is how you make a shelf. I don't know. I can't remember exactly what I make. This is how you make a door to an alternate dimension. And so he was telling me, what to do and where to go, because he's that type of person who sort of takes charge, and like in a board game, he's the one who organizes everybody and strategizes. And then he's like, "Where are you going? Where are you?" And I said, "Oh, I just wanted to explore over here. I wanted to see what happens if I dig this thing over here." And yeah, I enjoyed that. That was fun. I like the exploration part of things as well, which is probably why I really enjoyed Fallout. And I didn't always do the missions. I would just go on walkabout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was reading just on Reddit like yesterday about someone who really loved playing Skyrim, but he wouldn't really play the game. He'd just like go for swims in the rivers and like catch butterflies, because when he was little, he was like often bedridden. He got really sick and couldn't go to school for like 3 months at a time. So he would just enjoy getting out in nature by playing this game.
Yeah. No, I can understand that. That's how I played Skyrim as well. I mean, I would probably get a third into the game, and then I'd be like, "Oh, okay, so I'm just creating dragon shouts or something. Okay, I'm just going to go for a walk." 3 hours later, I'm still walking around and talking to people, chasing animals, killing animals, watching animals. I like animals in games, which is why I like Fallout. I really like the animals in that.
Especially, what's your favorite mutated animal in Fallout?
I do like the Yoway. That's how you pronounce it, right?
Is
Yoway? Fallout 3.
Yoway. What's it look like?
I believe that's the I can't remember now. I'm thinking of a death claw.
Oh, death claws. Yeah.
No, but that is a thing. I can't remember
Yoway.
what it looks like. But I also enjoy the double-headed Brahmin.
Yeah,
and
they're cool.
And what was that thing that came out of the water and shot?
Mirelurks?
Yes, I liked Mirelurks.
I hate them.
They're so cute. They're annoying, but they're cute.
They're very
and mole rats. I love
mole
mole
rats are cute.
Well, I want a mole rat.
As much as any of the mutated animals in Fallout can be cute.
Yeah. I also enjoyed cockroaches, but I enjoyed killing them.
Yeah.
They were fun. You kill them and they splatter. And
Rad roaches, that's
it.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think you would like Minecraft, but you probably shouldn't play it because I think it would eat your life.
Yeah, suck my soul.
Yeah, because it's one of the things where you just make eternal projects for yourself. You're like, all right, I need shelter. I need some tools. I need some clothes. I need better tools so I can mine this resource and build a giant tower that is a tribute to my godlike state in this wilderness.
That's right. I don't know. It kind of reflects certain other games where you progress as society discovers things. You go to higher levels, like Stone Age, Bronze Age, etc. It just goes to show you don't really need society to do that. It's a part of human nature to improve, to get to something better, to make something more.
Do you see? Have you ever thought of your own life as a game in that way, and like kind of gamified decisions you make and things you buy or strive to do?
Yes. This is going to sound really lame, but you know how in Fallout there's the special?
Yes, so that's your different types of stats. So that's an acronym, right? Special?
Yes.
Like strength, perception,
endurance, charisma, intelligence, agility, and luck.
Right.
Yeah, for a long time there, I was sort of trying to figure out how best to amplify my special.
Okay, so did you assign yourself what you thought were your current stats?
Yes. And then I sort of assigned activities to help build in those areas. So overall, if I ever ended up in an Armageddon situation, I'd be assured that I would be as well-rounded as possible to sort of deal with situations.
So in the Fallout games, those are stats that you choose at the start, and there aren't many ways you can actually increase those stats in-game, apart from like very rare books or quests, and they're like a very rare kind of reward to get. So what kind of things did you do that you thought would increase your special stats in real life?
In real life, I joined a gym,
and
I've joined many gyms, but I joined a gym, and then I thought, well, I may as well stick this out. And I've been consistently going to a gym now. When I say a gym, it's been 3 different gyms over 2 years, but I've consistently been going to the gym at least 3 to 4 times a week for about 2 years now. Sort of building more on my strength now, which actually, as I found out, strength training or weight training technically is also good cardio training. You get the same effect, really.
Yeah.
When you think of cardiovascular training, it's more of an endurance thing than a cardio. Also, any activity really where you lift your arms above your head, that instantly activates your cardiovascular system.
Oh, okay.
So you're sort of getting two workouts if you're doing deadlifts, squats, presses, etc. Yeah. So that would be my strength and my agility, I believe.
Yeah.
Endurance, well, that's a good question. When I did September, where I had to walk 10,000 steps a day, I think that really built up my endurance. I was able to walk from Brisbane City to Wollongabba within an hour. I think it was within an hour.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, by the end of it, I was puffed, but I made good time. I can't run. For the life of me, I cannot run. I almost died trying to run with my workmates 2 weeks ago. They practically left me for dead, although I was saying go on without me as I'm stumbling along on the footpath. Intelligence, well, study.
Mm-hmm.
What else is there? Perception. I'm trying to become more aware of my surroundings and be more present in the moment.
Mindfulness, is that what that
I guess so,
is?
yeah, mindfulness, yeah. Charisma is something to be desired. I don't think I really have charisma. I think I probably threw my music into that category.
Right, yeah.
Because compared to what I was like before I was in a band and before I performed live, I am a lot more charismatic. Yeah. I was way more introverted years ago than I am now.
And you think that's because of performing music?
I think so.
Interesting.
Yeah. It gave me more self-confidence and just being able to sort of present myself in front of others. I would not have had that ability years ago. And you can't really improve on luck. There you go.
Well, that was the last thing I was going to ask you. So when you assigned yourself the stats you thought you had when you were starting off, what value did you assign your luck? How lucky do you think you are?
I think I'm pretty lucky. I haven't really had that many bad things happen to me over my life. And anything that has happened to me that's bad, well, that's just me not paying attention to what I'm supposed to be doing. Like when I had to pay back the government a lot of money because I forgot to tick a box that said take my tax out of my Centrelink payments.
Oh.
Yeah, so that was a bit of a kick in the stomach when you're 20 years old, you have next to no money, you're a poor uni student living out of your friend's apartment that he owns because he saved his money. He's a wise man in terms of money.
Was he 20 as well?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yes. Tweed Heads is affordable if you have enough money. Also, he had full-time employment at the time, so he was eligible with his deposit to get a mortgage. And he figured he may as well get an apartment straight away. It's a very smart idea when you think about it. When you're a part-time uni student, part-time Woolies checkout chick, you don't have enough money to make a house deposit, let alone pay back the government. So I think my grandma helped me out with that one.
So some people say that luck is just the confluence of preparedness and opportunity. Do you think there is any way to increase your luck skill?
Well, definitely looking out for opportunity. Yeah.
Do you think you're good at that? Are you good at taking opportunity or recognizing opportunity?
I think I am. I've been quite lucky to get a lot of the jobs that I did get without applying for a lot of jobs elsewhere. I was given the job at the medico-legal firm pretty much the same day that I went in for the interview and the typing test. I think actually I got the job mainly because I could type more than 80 words per minute, which is quite handy. And then I also got the next job, pretty much first position that I applied for, and I went in for the interview, and I'm pretty sure I got an offer on that day as well. So I guess I would have been quite lucky in the past with opportunities. At the moment, I guess my opportunities aren't so present, but I'm trying to keep an eye out, really. Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you're pretty lucky to me, but there's a bunch more we could talk about, but we might leave that for one episode. Ash, thank you very much for coming on me podcast.
Thanks, Scott. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening to the first episode of Gimme Empathy. If you liked it, tell your friends about it. Tell them to download it from wherever it is that you get podcasts from. By the way, I looked up afterwards the Yaogwai that Ash was talking about from Fallout. I totally blanked on that, but I should have remembered. So the Yaogwai are mutated bears that appear in Fallout 3, Fallout 4, and the Honest Hearts DLC of Fallout New Vegas. They are not the same thing as Deathclaws, so that was my bad. Not that you probably care. Anyway, if you want to find out more about Ash's creative work, she has a music project called Hands on Heart. There's an album called Emergency Picnic up on Bandcamp that I produced with her. She was also the drummer in my own band Go Go Fish and played on most of our recordings. And she also played drums on the album Flinders Parade by Harley Young and the Haymakers, which was also a band that I was in with her. You can find all of that music on Bandcamp. I'd like to thank Caitlin Pliley and Andrew McMillan, who both helped with advice and support in getting this podcast off the ground. I encourage you to all check out Caitlin's podcast, Just a Spoonful, and Andrew's, which is called Penmanship. They are both great. I'll be back in a week or two with another episode of this podcast, and I will also hopefully think of a sign-off by then. Until then, stay shady. Stay shady, everyone. Yep, great.